thank you for joining me today, Ruth, in our series of Kind Leader Conversations. And I'm really looking forward to hearing more about the way that you lead and the way that kindness comes into that. So can I ask you to please start by introducing yourself and giving us a brief overview of your role as a leader?
Absolutely. Well, that's quite a tricky one because I have a number of different hats. But I will start from the beginning. I was, as a child, the first toddler to have powered mobility as a disabled child and fully integrated in mainstream education right from the start. I was born at just the right time to just the right people to be that person. So I've been a pioneer for longer than I've been a leader. And I think one leads naturally into the other. I think when you are the first and when you are the figurehead, the poster girl for something, you don't really have a great deal of choice. That people look to you for those answers. And the other thing about me is I am, one of the words is often used to describe me, which I've noticed, is strong, which is hilarious because I have a disability that means I can't lift my own arms. I can't stand or walk at all.
Right.
I have to have 24-hour care. And as I mentioned, I have to use a power chair to get around. So physically, I'm not strong at all.
Right. Yeah.
But there's this illusion that I create. And I do that by getting other people to help me with the things I can't do. And you can do that in two ways. You can either demand and try and assert your rights and get what you are entitled to, or you can make people want to give it to you.
Yeah. Interesting.
And you get a lot further if people feel good and come back for more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Than if you demand and get your minimum rights.
Yeah. Yeah. How interesting.
There was a Viking warrior and who had a reputation for being a great leader. I'm not sure how kind he was, but the historical records don't quite make sense because they talk about him surveying the battlefield from above the heads of his warriors, but they also talk about him fitting in small places and hiding in places that a big man couldn't hide. And what somebody eventually realized is he had dwarfism. And he went into battle carried aloft on a shield. Now, I don't know how he got his warriors to do that, but I know how I would do it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Let's hope it was with kindness. You know, that's the thing, isn't it? There's always this kind of, we sort of have this default assumption it wouldn't have been. But actually, why?
Yeah.
It very much could have been.
But he must have been very physically vulnerable.
Yeah.
And in that kind of environment, there are a lot of threats from other people who want to be in charge.
Yeah.
And how do you protect yourself from that? With loyalty.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
By inspiring loyalty.
Yeah.
And so I often think of that because when people say that I am strong.
Yeah, yeah, it's that sort of strength to bring people together. And, you know, at Time for Kindness, that's one of the things that we say about kindness is that actually it might be perceived as a bit weak and fluffy, but it isn't. It's powerful. And it's powerful because it connects us. So this is brilliant. This is the first time I think anyone has mentioned a Viking in our conversations about kindness.
There you
go. We're on a good roll. So I guess moving on from that, it would be great to hear a little bit more from you in terms of what does kindness mean to you?
This is an interesting one because I think we all know what we all think we know what kindness means. And I actually looked up the definition, the dictionary definition, which is incredibly unhelpful.
No simple one either.
No, the definition I found was it is the act of being kind.
I've seen that one.
And I'm a lawyer. So I don't like circular definitions. But actually, I think kindness is very much to do with empathy, tolerance. It actually the word has its origins in kin, meaning family.
Yes.
And so kindness and kinship are very closely related. And it is that, I mean, that, unfortunately, maybe some families don't treat one another with kindness. But that feeling of safety and security and treating one another with respect and generosity and tolerance. I think in our present society, tolerance is almost a dirty word. It's a bit like kindness, isn't it?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But actually, tolerance is the recognition. It's very closely allied to love.
Yeah.
Love as a verb. And I think, again, we talk about love as if it were a noun, as if it were an emotion. But love is not an emotion. If you go back to religion and scripture, love one another is an instruction.
Yeah.
You can't tell someone to be happy, and yet we have love one another, meaning actively go out. And it's very easy to love people you feel good towards.
Yes. Yeah.
It's very easy to do that. It's very easy to love somebody you like or you are attracted to or who makes you feel good. Loving somebody who is incredibly difficult is much harder. Love and kindness are also very closely allied.
Yeah. And it comes back to that point about strength, actually, of kindness, doesn't it? That kindness is a strong thing, because sometimes it's difficult, sometimes it's not the easy choice. And it's interesting that you mentioned that dictionary definition, because I've seen that one as well, and I feel I'm a communicator, so like you, I think, well, you can't define a word by using the word, that doesn't work. But even if, I found others, and when I run my workshops, do my talks, there's a whole range of definitions, and it's why I'm asking leaders kind of, what is your definition? Because it does, there are things that run through most of the definitions, but it is personal as well. There is that element to it. So yeah.
I think also part of what's very important to me is using it to afford autonomy and agency.
Okay.
It's not about control.
Yeah.
And particularly, you mentioned communication. A lot of kindness is simply in communication.
Yeah.
You can be incredibly kind in the way that you deliver a message by being honest, truthful, demonstrating that respect, and giving it a balance and a reality that gives the other person the option, that agency. That we talk again in our current society, we talk a lot about consent. Well, in law, particularly, we talk about informed consent.
Yes.
And to be a kind leader is to make that the behavior of the other person informed.
Yeah.
It's nothing about tricking them.
Yeah.
You're not tricking them or manipulating them, but you are giving them a fair presentation of the situation.
Yeah.
At a level that is appropriate to them.
Yes.
Well.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think it's Brene Brown, isn't it, who says something like clear is kind. And it's exactly that thing, isn't it? As you say, like making the situation clear. Sometimes the kindest conversation is a very difficult conversation. It's not about shying away. So you've touched on this quite a bit already, actually, but just in terms of kind of bringing together that kind of kindness and leadership, how do you demonstrate kindness as a leader? And also, I'm interested to know, what difference do you think that kindness that you're demonstrating is making to, what impact is that having on people around you?
So how I demonstrate it, as I say, it's a lot in the communication. It's about creating psychological safety, because when you're asking someone to follow you, you're asking them to take a risk. When you trust is risk. And when somebody feel psychologically safe, they will take more risks.
Yeah.
And they will take risks with you. They will share risks.
Yeah, interesting.
So it's a lot about building that empathy, building that rapport, understanding the individual. There's no one size fits all. It's about knowing the individual and recognizing there might be patterns in the way humans work. But actually each one is their own unique self.
Yeah.
I mentioned generosity earlier, and I think generosity, again, we think of generosity being of tangible things.
Yeah.
Pay or food, or having free chocolate in the office.
Yeah.
But actually we're actually talking about generosity of time and self.
Yeah.
To be as open with oneself as you can and is appropriate.
Yeah.
There are confidentiality factors as a leader that you have to respect, but actually, and having quite a long time scale in mind when you're talking, recognizing the pitfalls that are going to come up in the future.
Yeah.
I always talk about I do decision making by imagining myself in the future. It's sort of a reverse hindsight. Imagine I'm in the future and something bad has happened. What would I look back and go, I should have known, I should have said? Because you can do those things. Because I think, again, 2020 hindsight, we can all look back and go, this should have happened, that should have happened. And again, our media is very keen to do that.
Yes.
Decisions are judged by the knowledge we have now, not by the knowledge at the time.
Yeah, it's true.
Well, first of all, in my view, and in the view of various experts on decision making, that's very unfair. But also, you can have a little bit of a crystal ball simply with your imagination and what you know. And so in my leadership, I do that. What could happen? What are the risks that I'm managing? What do I need to have done now in case this happens?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm afraid this is built into my genetics, because in the late 1930s, my grandfather did exactly that. Hitler was doing his thing and everyone was a little bit concerned. And my grandfather was responsible for the gas mains in London.
Right.
And he and a colleague realised that if there were blitzkrieg, this was in 37, 38, this was, it wasn't imminent, but there was that sort of, this could happen. And they went, as an academic exercise, let's work out how we would defend the gas mains of London.
Wow.
Just for fun. Just an intellectual.
Why not?
Why not? Because either it'll be an exercise that teaches us some things about our infrastructure that we don't currently fully understand.
Yeah.
Or when we need it, we're not going to have time to do it. So we're going to need to have it all ready.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Thank goodness you did.
And when war was declared, he was seconded to the War Office.
Right.
And everyone went, why have you done that? Pre-2020, people made fun of me because I had an epidemic policy.
Yeah.
I'm afraid it was only called an epidemic policy. It got upgraded. But that meant that at the very beginning of 2020, people were coming to me going, Ruth, I know you know this, you've thought this through. What do I do?
Yeah. Yeah. You've got the policy. I need to see it.
I had the policy. I knew the plan. I knew what we were going to do. I knew what the thresholds were, when to implement different things, because when it's happening so fast, you don't have that.
Yes. Yeah.
And actually, creating that for others is kind, because it creates safety.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, that's a fantastic example. And yeah, and well done to your granddad. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because you say, you know, it's in your genetics, and people do sometimes in some of the talks and workshops say, oh, well, you know, you're a kind person or you're not, you know, it comes to you or it doesn't, and so on. And whilst I think there's an element of that, actually, you can learn to do things. And like you've given some great practical examples there that I think are really good things that people can do.
I don't think it's genetic. I think it's learned. I think, you know, I grew up in a family that did that.
Yeah.
And that had been applauded for doing that.
Yes.
So, which meant that I learned to do it from a very early age.
Yeah.
Just because you haven't learnt it from the cradle doesn't mean you can't learn it.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Or maybe, you know, just because you haven't taken it in to the extent or recognised its value, that doesn't mean that you can't shift your thinking.
Yeah.
And I think there's also an element of, there is that human interaction whereby, as a kind leader, is it humility or is it just being open about your own human vulnerability?
Yeah. Yeah. I think
many people are really concerned that being kind will make them look weak.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Which I think sort of it's that thing, isn't it? That people, the absolute thing as well. Sometimes that people think I'm either a kind leader or I'm not. But actually, there are some days when you're not going to be for whatever reason, and other days you'll be better at it, and so on. But what would you say? So to people who, because I come across people like this, like you say, who are a bit afraid to show kindness because they think it makes them look weak. What would you say to leaders who are perhaps a bit nervous about leading? You know, they might want to lead with kindness, but they're a bit nervous about doing that because they think it makes them look like they're not, quote unquote, a proper leader. What would you say to them?
Every Sandhurst officer has been taught to be kind. It goes back to the military thing, the Viking. If you want your troops, your soldiers to follow you into danger, they have to trust you and be loyal to you. The only way to create that is to be kind to them.
Yeah.
I cannot see kindness as weakness because, as you say, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard and it's strong. It's powerful because by being kind, you create connections with more than yourself.
Yeah.
And one officer in a war zone is just a person.
Yeah.
I always laugh because kindness is actually relatively self-interested.
Well, yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Again, you know, in the workshops, we quite often have conversations about, does something count as kindness if you get something positive from it? But in actual fact, all the academic research shows that kindness is positive for the giver, the recipient, and also the witness. So there is something that everybody gets from it.
There is an episode of Friends about on this subject.
Know the one.
Nobody is entirely altruistic, but what it's that long term, it's that sustainability. If you, going back to my experience as a wheelchair user, when I was at sixth form. Now, bear in mind, I cannot open a door. If I want to go through a door, someone's got to open it for me.
Yeah.
When I went to a separate sixth form college. So when I started in the lower sixth, there was only one other year group. which was the upper sixth. And in that upper sixth year group was a wheelchair user who was very angry about everything.
Right.
And happened to be able to do doors.
Right.
Had upper body strength and could open doors. And that person was very rude to anybody who opened the door.
Right.
Even in a normal, most people, when you're going through a door, if there's someone behind you, you hold the door for them.
Yeah.
That is kind. That is basic, It actually caused me a problem because people in the upper sixth were frightened to open the door for me.
Right. Yeah. So it had a knock-on effect.
It had a knock-on effect for me. The flip side of that is if I am gracious and pleasant and kind when people do things for me, they want to do it again.
Yeah.
It didn't take me very long. And again, that the power in being kind, anyone who did open the door, it didn't take me, I think it took me maybe a term of my first year to train the entire upper sixth and to prevent the lower sixth from learning it. That opening the door for a wheelchair user is the right thing, is a good thing to do.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
a positive thing to do.
Interesting.
And it didn't take very much kindness at all to totally counteract that bad experience.
Yeah, yeah. It's really interesting, isn't it? I think it's the Harvard Business Review did some research that showed that leaders who encourage kind environments and kindness in their workplace find when they do have to have those difficult conversations or they have to get people to do things that perhaps they don't want to do for whatever reason, they find it easier to do that. And it absolutely comes down to what you said about trust and relationships having been built up.
Absolutely.
And as a leader, you're always going to have a difficult conversation at some point.
Yeah.
You don't get away with avoiding that at all. So building those kind of relationships are key to being able to do your job. So, I could talk to you all day, but I know we both have lots of other things to be working on. So thank you so much for your time. It's really interesting. And as I say, I think you're definitely the first person to mention Vikings and probably Sandhurst as well in a conversation. So I love it. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much indeed.